Welcome to the Power Book of Podcasts. Unlock your potential with powerful book summaries that inspire personal growth and broaden your understanding of the world. Each week, we explore life-changing ideas, from leadership to mindset strategies to keys for happiness and success. Learn actionable insights to apply in your daily life. Join our growing community of thinkers and seekers. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button now. It's time to supercharge your mind with the Power Book of Podcasts.
All right, welcome everyone. Today we're diving deep into flow, the psychology of optimal experience.
Oh, yeah.
This book by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, it's gotten a ton of praise.
Oh, yeah.
Like Howard Gardner called it profound and path-breaking, and it's supposed to be like this guide to finding joy, even in like the most ordinary things. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right?
Absolutely.
So we've got the book itself, obviously. I got some of your notes here. And a few like really interesting reviews.
Right.
One even called it a prescription for happiness. I mean, that's a big claim.
Yeah, that is a pretty big claim. But, you know, the book, it tackles this paradox I think we all kind of face.
Oh, okay.
We have, you know, more wealth, more opportunity than ever before.
Right.
But like anxiety, boredom, they're still everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think like with all this stuff we have now, we'd be happier, but
Right.
it doesn't really seem like that's the case.
Not really, no.
So how does Csikszentmihalyi explain that disconnect then?
Well, he argues that external factors
Okay.
like wealth or status, they don't automatically equal happiness. It's not really a new idea, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even Aristotle, like way back when,
Right.
was talking about happiness as the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting here is Csikszentmihalyi's focus on the quality of our experiences.
Okay. So like it's not the stuff we have.
Not just that.
It's more like how we actually feel moment to moment.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about those individual moments.
Have you ever felt that like you hit some big goal,
Mm-hmm.
you're successful, but then there's this like emptiness?
Yeah,
It makes you wonder if we're like chasing the wrong things.
absolutely. And the book really drives home this point that we have more control over our inner world.
Over how we feel.
Exactly, more than we usually realize.
So in the book, he uses this example. A sailor in a storm, a skier, and a violinist.
Yeah.
All finding flow, but in such different situations.
Very different.
What makes those activities lead to that feeling then?
Well, it's about tapping into a state where our minds are fully, like, completely engaged.
Okay.
But to really understand how that works, we need to look at how Csikszentmihalyi explains consciousness.
Okay.
He uses this information processing model.
Yeah.
Our minds are basically constantly filtering, interpreting information.
Okay, so like our brains are these supercomputers just taking in everything.
Right, exactly.
The world around us, our memories, everything.
Yeah, all of it. But when that system gets, like, overloaded or disorganized, that's when we experience what he calls psychic entropy.
Psychic entropy, that sounds kind of intense.
It can be, yeah.
What does that actually feel like?
It's that mental state where your mind's racing.
Okay.
You can't focus.
Yeah.
And everything just feels overwhelming.
Ugh.
Like
yeah.
a million tabs open in your brain and nothing's loading right.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
Yeah, it's the opposite of that calm, focused feeling you get with flow.
Okay, so how do we like combat that entropy then? How do we get to that flow state everyone keeps talking about?
Well, he defines flow as this state of complete absorption in what you're doing. It's being in the zone, you know,
Yeah.
losing track of time, fully present.
I think I felt that when I'm writing sometimes.
Okay.
Like hours just disappear.
Yeah.
But can you really experience this in any activity?
He actually provides examples of people experiencing flow in all sorts of situations.
Really?
Yeah, from assembly line workers to surgeons.
So it's not just like playing music or art or something.
No, it's not about the task itself, but more about how we approach it.
Oh, okay. So in the book, he talks about a surgeon, right?
Yeah, he loses all sense of self while operating.
And a rock climber who's finding flow even though it's dangerous.
Exactly.
It shows that it's not just about seeking out like easy or pleasurable things, right?
Right. It's not about comfort. It's something else.
What's interesting is his research found people actually experience more flow at work than in leisure time.
Yeah, that is surprising.
It's always like, escape the 9 to 5, find yourself in your hobbies.
Right.
Why do you think that is then?
Well, it could be that work often has clearer goals,
Okay.
more immediate feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and a better balance between like challenge and skill.
Right.
Think back to our examples. The surgeon knows exactly what they need to do.
Right. Yeah.
The stakes are high. It demands their full attention.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if we want more of this flow then, both at work and outside of it, what can we actually do to cultivate it?
Well, he gives a few key pieces of advice. First, set clear goals.
Okay.
Whether you're working on a project or learning something new, having a specific objective keeps you focused.
Like a roadmap, right?
Exactly, yeah. If you don't know where you're going,
right,
it's tough to get there.
Makes sense.
The second thing is finding activities that actually match your skills.
Okay.
Flow happens in that sweet spot where the challenge is just slightly above your current ability.
So too easy, you're bored.
Right.
Too hard, and you get frustrated.
Exactly.
Got to find that Goldilocks zone.
Yes. And lastly, you need to learn to focus your attention on the present moment.
Okay.
When you're fully in the now, you're less likely to get distracted by, worries about the past or future anxieties.
Like that feeling when you're so into a book that time just disappears.
Exactly. That's the power of flow.
This is all sounding amazing, but he does also mention this idea of psychic energy being limited. Does that mean we can only, experience flow in short bursts?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the core of how we use our mental energy.
Okay.
Let's dive into that a little deeper. Yeah, it's true. We only have so much, mental energy.
Right.
But the interesting thing is, the more we practice directing that energy towards things that actually matter, the better we get at it. It's like training a muscle,
Yeah.
The more we use it, the stronger it becomes.
So it's not just about finding those moments of flow, it's about making them more consistent.
Yeah.
Part of our lives routinely.
Yeah, and he argues that this ability to direct our psychic energy, it's crucial for building a strong inner life.
Okay.
It's about finding fulfillment in the things that really resonate with us.
Okay.
Not because of some external reward.
Right. We were talking about that whole external validation thing before.
Yeah.
Does he have any suggestions on how to shift away from those external rewards?
He does, yeah. One of the key things is to become more aware of our experiences.
Okay.
Really pay attention to those moments when we feel truly alive, engaged, energized.
So noticing when we're naturally drawn in.
Right.
When time just flies by.
Exactly. Yeah.
And asking ourselves, what's creating that feeling?
Exactly. Once we start to identify those activities that bring us joy, then the next step is figuring out how to approach them.
Right.
In a way that actually fosters that flow.
That makes a lot of sense. But I'm sure some people are thinking, okay, finding flow in a hobby, that's easy.
Right.
But what about the less exciting parts of life?
Yeah.
Doing laundry, paying bills.
Yeah, that's a fair question. And he does acknowledge that some activities are just more conducive to flow than others.
Sure.
But he also argues that even in those mundane tasks, there's always an opportunity to find a challenge, a way to engage our skills, our attention.
So even folding laundry can be a mindfulness exercise.
Exactly. Think about it. You could focus on the textures of the fabrics, the efficiency of your movements, or even turn it into a little game. Perfectly folded stacks. It's all about shifting your perspective.
Yeah, finding those little challenges that can spark that feeling of engagement.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good mindset shift. But he also talks about the problem of culture.
Right.
This idea that, societal norms can sometimes get in the way of finding flow.
Yeah, that's a key point.
How does that fit in then?
He argues that over time, we've developed all these complex systems of meaning, rituals, to create order, security. Think about our emphasis on material possessions, status symbols, the constant pursuit of more.
Yeah, it's we're hardwired to chase those things, even if they don't really make us happy.
Right, and while those cultural constructs serve a purpose, he argues that they can sometimes become obstacles to experiencing flow.
Because they distract us from the intrinsic rewards.
Exactly.
Those things that come from just engaging in something for its own sake.
Yeah, we get so caught up in the pursuit of happiness,
Yeah.
that we forget to actually enjoy the journey.
Right. He uses the story of King Midas, to illustrate that.
Yeah, classic tale. Powerful reminder that chasing external rewards can backfire.
Midas thought wealth equals happiness, but it ended up isolating him.
Right.
Taking away those simple pleasures.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that those things we often associate with happiness, wealth, power, fame, they can actually become sources of psychic entropy if we're not careful.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the importance of cultivating that strong inner life, finding those activities that bring us joy, purpose, regardless of what anyone else thinks.
It makes you wonder if, like, our current culture with social media, all the comparison, if it's making it even harder.
That's a really interesting question, one that he might argue is worth exploring for sure.
Yeah.
He talks about how flow helps us develop a sense of autonomy.
Okay.
Where we're driven by internal motivation.
Right, not those external pressures.
Exactly. It's about finding those things that make us feel truly alive, regardless of what anyone else thinks.
Okay, so not rejecting cultural norms completely.
No, not at all.
But being mindful of how they might be affecting us.
Yeah, and finding that balance between engaging with the world around us and staying connected to our own internal compass.
He shares a lot of examples of people who found flow in kind of unexpected places.
He does, yeah.
I was really intrigued by that rock climber.
Yeah.
Finding flow in something so risky, how can something like intense and dangerous lead to that feeling?
It's a great example of how flow isn't about seeking comfort.
Right.
Or avoiding challenges.
Yeah.
For the climber, the flow comes from that intense focus, the precision.
Okay.
Required to navigate that rock face.
Right.
It's about being completely present, responding to each challenge.
So it almost sounds paradoxical.
Yeah.
Finding calm and control in something so unpredictable.
He calls it the paradox of control.
Okay.
It's the idea that many activities that bring us the greatest sense of flow are also those that involve a degree of risk or uncertainty.
Okay, so not avoiding risk, but learning how to approach it.
Exactly. And this applies to all areas of life, not just extreme sports.
Right.
Whether we're starting a new relationship, tackling a big project at work, or just learning a new skill, it's those moments of challenge and risk that have the potential for the most profound sense of flow.
Okay, this is all incredibly insightful, I gotta say.
Good. Glad to hear it.
But I have to admit, I'm still struggling with this idea of taming solitude.
Oh, yeah.
It all sounds so, solitary.
Right.
What about people who are more extroverted? Those who thrive on social interaction. Can you only experience flow alone?
That's a great question. And it leads us into another fascinating dimension of flow, the flow of relationships.
Oh, okay.
He argues that flow isn't just something we experience by ourselves.
Okay.
It's something we can experience in our interactions with others.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
He points out that just as there are conditions that create flow in individual activities, there are also conditions for social interactions.
Okay.
And they're surprisingly similar.
So we're still talking about clear goals, immediate feedback, that balance of challenge and skill.
Exactly, yeah. And when those are present in a social interaction, the potential for flow goes way up.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works. Can you give me some examples of this, like flow in relationships?
Sure. Think about a group of musicians jamming together, completely lost in the music.
Yeah.
Each person contributing, responding, building on each other's ideas. Individual egos fade, and they become one with the music.
I felt that when playing music with others, like time just disappears.
Exactly. That's flow in a social interaction. And it's not limited to just music. It can happen in any interaction where there's a shared goal.
Right.
A clear set of rules and that balance.
So it's not just like hanging out with friends or going to parties.
No.
It's more about those interactions that are both enjoyable and stimulating.
Exactly. Those interactions can take many forms.
Okay.
A lively debate, a collaborative project, or even a deep conversation with someone you care about.
Even a conversation can have flow, like when you're really listening.
Absolutely.
Responding authentically, building on each other's ideas.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that flow in relationships isn't just about having fun.
Right.
It's about deepening those connections, broadening our understanding of the world.
Becoming more well-rounded.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's about using those interactions for growth, not just distraction.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about bringing that same intention, that same awareness to our relationships as we do with other flow activities.
This is making me think about those times you're working on a project with a team and everyone's just like on fire. You're feeding off each other's energy.
Yeah.
Ideas just flow. Time disappears. It's incredibly motivating.
That's a great example of collective flow in action.
Right.
And it highlights how these principles can be applied to all sorts of things.
Right.
From hobbies to our professional collaborations.
Okay, this has been amazing, exploring all these different flows, from individual pursuits to social ones. But there's one area I'm still curious about. The flow of thought.
Oh, yeah.
It seems more like abstract than finding flow in sports or music.
Right.
How do we access that in our own minds?
Yeah. It can seem a little less tangible.
Right.
But it's just as powerful.
Yeah.
Imagine like a sculptor, shaping clay.
Okay.
Or a painter mixing colors.
Right.
We can shape our thoughts the same way.
Right.
Create something from the raw material of our minds.
So we're like the artists of our own inner worlds.
Exactly. And he uses this idea of psychic energy to explain how it works. It's the energy that fuels everything, our thoughts, emotions, actions. We could direct it, towards things that matter.
Right.
Or we can waste it on distractions.
It's like we have a certain amount of mental energy every day.
Yeah, like a budget.
And we need to be careful about how we're spending it.
Exactly. And when we're in that flow state, that energy is focused.
Okay.
Not wasted on worries or distractions.
Makes sense.
We're just fully present, absorbed in whatever we're doing.
So what are some things that can help us tap into that flow of thought?
He mentions a few. Reading, writing, problem solving, learning a new language, even having deep conversations.
Okay.
The key is finding things that challenge us, that keep our attention.
It makes me wonder if, our obsession with multitasking now, if that makes it harder to find that flow.
That's a really good point. He might agree that deep focus is getting tougher these days.
Right.
But he'd also emphasize it's a skill you can develop.
Okay.
Just like anything else.
So it's not about becoming a hermit, ditching technology completely.
Right. Not at all.
It's about finding ways to focus.
Exactly. Yeah. Creating space for that deep engagement. Yeah. Even with all the distractions.
Think about reading. When you get lost in a good book, you totally enter that flow state. Everything else fades away.
It's like you're transported to another world.
Yeah, totally.
Completely immersed. And that's just one example.
Right.
Flow can happen anytime we're using our minds in a creative, challenging way.
He even talks about building a mental museum.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's about curating our memories, our experiences, our knowledge in a way that enriches our lives, makes us more resilient. Not just passively taking in information.
Right.
But actively engaging with it, making connections, drawing insights.
So being intentional about what we let into our minds.
Yeah.
Cultivating that rich inner world.
Exactly. And that museum is always evolving.
Right.
As we learn and grow and experience new things.
This all makes sense. But I got to be honest, I struggle with finding flow when I'm writing.
Yeah, writing can be tough. He suggests approaching it as self-expression, not a chore.
So finding a topic you're passionate about.
Exactly, yeah. Something you really want to explore.
Right.
And just like other flow activities, finding that balance.
Not too easy, not too hard.
Exactly. Setting realistic goals, breaking things down, and creating that supportive environment.
Okay.
Where you can focus, get into the flow.
So it's not about waiting for inspiration.
Right.
It's about creating the right conditions.
Exactly. And remember, writing is a skill. It takes time.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the easier it gets.
It's like we romanticize the creative process.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of work involved. Just showing up, doing it, even when it's hard.
Absolutely. And those tough moments, they can actually be really valuable.
Yeah.
When we push through, we grow, we become more resilient.
This whole conversation has really highlighted how important it is to be intentional about all our experiences, really. Physical activities, relationships, our thoughts.
Yeah. It's not about forcing flow, but creating the right conditions.
I think that's one of the most powerful takeaways from flow.
Definitely.
We have more control than we think.
We do, yeah.
And by understanding these principles, we can shape our lives for more joy, creativity, fulfillment.
Exactly. It's a journey, always discovering, learning, growing.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into flow.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has been as insightful for you as it's been for me.
Me too.
And everyone listening, thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time with another deep dive. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep flowing.